kitchen windows open, please? Need a bit of air in here, thank you. No, it's not worth the risk, darling.
And we are live. Welcome.
Oh.
Welcome. It's just disclaimer. We're not going to be talking about West Ham too much. We might touch on West Ham, but not on purpose. The purpose is to talk about the Premier League in general, all the transfer dealings. I'll look ahead to next season in Premier League, and of course, goes hand in hand with Fantasy League. Everyone's talking about Fantasy League at the minute, so we'll touch on that as well. And throughout the live show, we're going to be interacting a lot with the live chat. So get your comments in. Any discussion points you want to discuss, put them up, and we'll happily discuss them. Just keep it to Premier League chat if you can. Don't ask us about Bundesliga or Liga 1 or anything like that. Premier League, that'd be good. But Gonzo, is there any team or any transfer in particular you would like to start by discussing?
Well, I think there's a lot to say, Geo, to be honest with you. And once we get going, it's there's a lot to discuss at every single club. I've just been to Tesco now, just literally got back, listened to a couple of the deals going through. We could start with Tottenham and get them out of the way, maybe, because I think they've done annoyingly good business, mate. You know, it's really good. Did you see, by the way, what the fee was for Sessegnon?
No, I've struggled to keep up today. I've been at work and I've literally got in, had a quick bite to eat and come on this, and because this takes a little bit of setting up now. Hangouts used to take 2 minutes. I could turn on my laptop and 3 minutes later we could be live on YouTube now. And also because there's a different template for this one, so I had to change the template. It's the live subscriber count's different, so I had to change that. It's up in the top right corner instead of the bottom left corner. So I had a lot of moving about. So I've been doing this as soon as I got home. So I'm actually out of the loop a little bit in today, if you like, for transfer dealings. So Sessio's a Spurs player then, is he?
Yeah, and De Celso is, and he's a good player, apparently. They were in quite long negotiations for Dybala, but he turned them down, didn't want to go. We've got to say thank you for Connor Matthews for rustling this up really quickly. I contacted him this morning and he did that little board. I realised we didn't have one for the forum channel, so thank you very much. I'm sure he'll be popping in the chat at some point. And they've also got Ndombele, which is a player I think is a fantastic one. He's obviously got his reputation as a defensive midfielder, but he's going to provide some assists and some goals, and that sort of stuff is important because obviously we're tying it in with our fantasy football league and our Hammers Chat mini league. I counted it up and it had something like 860 people in our Hammers Chat mini league, Geo. So you and I are going to have our work cut out to finish first and second,
I've
know?
got about 824 people finishing below me this season. Makes a commiserations to those. But you know something, my aim this season is just to keep doing it. I'm pretty crap at it, to be honest with you. I'm pretty crap at keeping up with it.
That's the key, isn't it? That is the key. Keep doing it every week.
You forget 1 week and it puts you off doing it for the rest of the season. If you miss 1 week, well, that's it. I've had it now. And quite often I forget to do it when I'm at West Ham. So we've got a home game. I quite often forget to do my team then. I end up deleting the app halfway through the season last season. I don't need it. But I've not finished my team yet. I threw something together a few days ago, but you can't do it when the transfer deadline is open, can you? Because everything's still going on a little bit, and you think, oh, I wouldn't mind that player if he goes somewhere. So you've just got to wait. So I didn't really pay. I threw something together, and it needs a lot of tweaking. But the Spurs one, keeping Eriksen's massive, but risky. He's only got a year to go, and what Daniel Levy's done now is, when although he didn't get Dybala in the end, they were, by the sounds of it, willing to offer him big money, and it was about image rights and stuff. About what he was wanting about £15 million for his image rights, and that's why he didn't go through. But now Eriksen, Kane, and Ali are going to say, "Hang about, you were offering that guy £200,000 a week. I'll have £200,000 a week," and I think I suppose his counter argument will be, well, no one's getting paid £200,000 a week, but the offer was on the table for him, and I do think his wage structure, which has been so tight, he's almost gone, you know what, let's get rid of it to get this world-class player in. Fine. But you didn't get him, and you've almost sort of thrown question marks over your wage structure now for nothing by the looks of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen in the chat Neil from Down Under. I know Neil. He joins in a lot, as do everybody. We will recognise people that pop up here. It's 2:35 a.m. on Friday morning in Australia, and there he is, sat down watching us. So he's probably having a coffee. Like I've only got a cup of tea today. I've got a coffee, and I was flagging a little bit. You probably don't know them that Wilfried Zaha. I guess you know he's staying at Palace, which I think is huge for them. But he handed in a transfer request and they didn't let him go. So I think that is going to be. They've had a weird one. Palace, I'm not even sure they've covered right back. They've had some really weird. They've almost strengthened in areas they don't need to, Gio.
It's risky. They're really risking it with relegation this season. Roy Hodgson now is sort of, he doesn't get blamed. If Palace go down, it's not Roy Hodgson's fault. Roy Hodgson's got all the excuses in the world. One of my best players was sold. My other best player wanted to leave and got kept here. I didn't get reinforcements. Roy Hodgson cannot lose here. It's almost going to, if he finishes 17th this season, it's almost seen as a good year for Roy Hodgson. People will look at him and go, he did well. It's like Rafa Benitez keeping Newcastle up. People laid it primarily at the manager's door. He kept that team up, and it'll be the same with Palace. I think if I was a Palace fan, I'd be very disappointed. But do you know something? He's got this wrong. He signed a 5-year deal a year ago, but he's waited until deadline day to hand in a transfer request. He should have done that, not as soon as the season finished, but as soon as pre-season started, he should have went and handed in that transfer request. He's waited till the last day, and he's put Palace in a situation where they sell their best player and they can't replace him, or they keep an unhappy player at the club. Palace can't get out of that, and I blame Zaha. Yes, it was obviously wanted to go for a while, so you could say the club could have acted sooner. But there's all this like loyalty bonuses and stuff in football that he's probably due about £5 million of it, of any fee. And the way Palace are looking at it, Zaha's going to keep them up. So staying up in the Premier League's worth over 70 million. So they're probably saying, well, if we sell Zaha, we might get relegated. So we're going to have to cash in and basically get our Premier League sort of like money, if you like, in order to go. It's risky. I tell you what, if I was a Villa fan or a Norwich fan or a Brighton fan, I'd be thinking, thank God for Crystal Palace today. That's what I'd be saying. I'd say that's the team we need to finish above.
Yeah, it is funny business. I rate him so highly, Zaha. I do think he's the best player outside of the top six. Well, certainly up to last season. There's a load of new players who've been signed by pretty much everybody we haven't seen yet, but up to a point, I do think he was. I know he's got a reputation for diving. I know he's not an easy player to love, but I do think he is fantastic. I really do, and there may well be implications for them in January. But you looked at them and you think, okay, you've got to strengthen right back, you've got to strengthen at striker. I don't seem to have done either of those things. But I mean, it's just weird things going on all over, really. I don't think Liverpool didn't do what I expected them to do. We're going to talk about Man City later, but Man City have strengthened hugely. Liverpool have sort of sat on their hands and done nothing. And even Man United, they've got rid of Lukaku today. I don't know if you knew that. And they don't really have a striker in, although we expect Rashford to play up front. By the way, I did just put the code in for the fantasy. A couple of people have asked for the Fantasy Football League code. Our code's in there. If you scroll up, it's K7R1KP. So you can click on the live chat and you'll see it in there. But Liverpool was so close. They were 1 point away last season, and they've just allowed Man City to grow. Man City have got better. Man City, they just signed another player for 11 million, took their spending, their gross spending, not net, but they took their spending to 150 million for this transfer window. So you'd have to expect the Man City have got 150 million better than Liverpool, which was 1 point. I wonder why they're so inactive, Liverpool.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense for me. I was waiting for them to go in and get a world-class player, essentially, even if they just got one world-class player. You do look at the first 11, though, you do think, well, where would you get the guy? Where would you could argue striker and you could argue centre midfield. I don't think you need a centre back, you don't need a full back, you don't need a keeper, you don't need a wide midfielder. So it'd have to be striker or a centre mid. I'm surprised they haven't done anything. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be sort of disappointed, and I'd be looking at Spurs thinking, Are they as good as us? They're not far away, Spurs. They've closed the gap.
No. Oh, big time. And I do think Liverpool are magnificent in the way they play. I've said it several times. I like that way of playing, but it's so heavily reliant on Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson because their crossing is so good, and they don't necessarily have to beat a man to cross. They do it like David Beckham, old style David Beckham cross. They will cross from deep, and such as the whip and bend on it, they can still almost curl it around the centre back and into the path of the striker. But underneath them, there's nobody comparable. I know Moreno, they've let Moreno go. I know he wasn't fantastic, but he was an attacking fullback. He did attack and wasn't as good as Robertson. I get it. But their options are very, very limited. And when you look at Liverpool, they're in the Champions League. They'll probably get past the group stage. Of course, you'd have to think that they will because they've got to two successive Champions League finals. They're going to be in all competitions. They're going to be playing 60 games this season. There's no way those fullbacks.
They've got the World Club World Cup as well in December out in Qatar.
Well, I mean, those fullbacks can't play that, and it's a huge. It's like Pellegrini having no attacking midfielders, if you like. It's just a huge way that they play. It's almost their identity. I just find it weird to go to win the Champions League and then just to not push on and invest when they clearly make a load of money. The money spent in the Premier League it's ridiculous, actually. You sort of look at it and you think, actually, Watford, I think, broke their transfer record today. Palace, yes, I know they got some money for Wan-Bissaka, but they went and spent 25 million, and there's lots of people go and spend 25 million on a player, and you almost don't bat an eyelid now. 25 million, it's crazy. The Premier League is mega rich, so I just think Liverpool must have had money in their coffers to do something. Weird. Maybe they're saving up for a big old spend up next season.
What's
I
the
don't know,
point in
mate.
that though? Because you could be the third most appealing Premier League team next summer. I think Spurs will finish above them this season. I'll say it now. I do think Spurs will. I think Spurs will get second. I think Liverpool have got this World Cup thing in December, which is an absolute pain in the arse for anyone to go out there in December for a couple of weeks. You don't need that. I think Spurs heavily prioritise the Champions League, understandably so. They decided towards the end of the season, especially when Harry Kane was injured, they obviously thought, right, we need to wrap up the likes of Son in bubble wrap and make sure he's fit for the Champions League final. Otherwise, we've got no hope. And if they weren't in the Champions League final, I think they would have accumulated more points at the end of the season. I don't think they would have got near Liverpool, but I think they would have finished third instead of fourth, for example. So I think Spurs will be closer to the top of the table than they were last season. Centre midfield has been Spurs' problem, and just Ndombele on himself is a massive signing. Harry Winks will be back from injury as well. Another, you just say about De Bruyne for Man City. Winks is the same thing for Spurs. He's missed most of last season, so he's back now. He'll be huge for them in there. I think Spurs will do good.
Yeah, they are. They are annoyingly well run, actually, and he just seems to be able to extract whatever he wants. He seems to be able to sell players for what he wants. Although the point you made about Eriksen earlier on is spot on. He may not have his own way there. And Alderweireld, is that right? Is he running his contract down as well, possibly? So that's very un-Daniel Levy-like. But even to Celso, I think they originally were quoted 80 million. He's basically got him for 50 odd million. So he's a tough negotiator, that guy. And I think even Ndombele they got for less than, he hadn't been there long. He's moved club quite a lot. He came from the lower leagues, Ndombele came up through the system very, very quickly. But he got him for less than he's worth, you'd have to say. And he's a shrewd negotiator. What about Man United then?
What a letdown. Absolute letdown in the transfer window. Daniel James, decent prospect. West Ham would sign him, I wouldn't have complained. But Man United used to buy the best of the Premier League. They're now buying the best of the Championship, and it's a bit different. Wan-Bissaka is a very good purchase, really, really good signing. I think Harry Maguire is a good signing for them as well. But they've not addressed centre midfield. How you can be linked with Bruno Fernandes all summer is like Man United fans. I watch a couple of Man United YouTube channels or whatever. I have gone in and out over the summer. and they were waiting for someone like Bruno Fernandes, and then they were linked to players. There was someone from Italy as well they were linked with, and then they were thinking, is this who we're going to get? Then they were linked to Christian Eriksen as well.
Yeah.
They got none of them. You know, their midfield next season is going to be Matic and stuff, and it's not inspiring. Man United are going to have a hard time finishing in the top 6 next season, I think. They had an opportunity to make a statement this summer. They had an opportunity to flash cash and start rebuilding, and they haven't really. They've done okay, but all you have to do is look at North London, and both of those teams are really invested. How Man United have fallen is ridiculous. They used to have the pick of it players. They're struggling to persuade their targets now, and that's got to be a huge worry if you're a Man United fan.
So do we know if did Arsenal get Louise as well? They got Tierney.
Unsure, but he was certainly having a medical today, David Luiz.
We'll find out in 30 seconds. I don't want to do a search. We've got a chat there being ably stewarded by Charlie, who's being he's good in the old chat, Charlie. He's not mucking around, is he? He's good. He's good, like the Oracle, the wise man, answering questions, keeping everyone in order, behaving themselves. Yeah. So Arsenal have been big spenders. Played it very, very cool, very sensibly. All their people, their social media people, were doing their nuts, going mental. You know, all the Arsenal fan TV, not all of them, not Robbie. The host is very calm. All the rest of them have been doing their nut all summer long, and actually they've had a really, really good window. I think the winger is good. They looked like they were interested in Zaha. Showed you how much they rated Zaha, because they bid 40 million for Zaha. As I understand it, they bid 50 million. Palace said they want 80 million. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to take 80 million. Surely there's somewhere in between. So then Arsenal bid 65, 70 million. But it shows what they thought of Zaha, that they actually did have the money, because they had 72 million to play for Pepe. Got him in. Tierney, they were weak at left back, of course. Centre back, and you thought, the one area they've not done is centre back. I brought David Luiz in. It looks like, I don't know if anyone's confirmed that yet. Charlie is the Morpheus, Geo is Neo, and Gonzo's R2D2. Is that wrong with that? R2D2's not even in the Matrix. Anyway, David Luiz comes in. People, not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think he's a very, very good player. He's easy to mock, he's easy to laugh at, David Luiz, but he's won some trophies in his time, and he's a good player, and I think he will improve them.
I think Arsenal have had the best window in the Premier League this summer. Out of all the teams, I think Arsenal had the best window. I think they've got a really good left back. If they get David Luiz, that is. They've got not a world class centre back, but they've got one of the next best things. He was fantastic for Chelsea last season, David Luiz. People associate David Luiz with the David Luiz of when he first arrived in the Premier League. He's changed a lot since then. He's matured quite a bit. Pepe is a superb signing. Cabellos in centre midfield is an unreal loan signing as well. They've done really good signings, Arsenal. Socrates and David Luiz at the back is not a bad centre back partnership. You need to get rid of Mustafi, and they've sort of managed to sort of half do that. So I think they'll do okay. I think they'll probably finish in the top 4 this season. I think they'll comfortably be 4th, and when I say comfortably, I think they'll be a decent bit ahead of Man United and Chelsea, but I think they might be a little bit short of Liverpool and Spurs. But I think they'll do well. I think Emery is a cup manager, so I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal are sort of lifting some sort of silverware this year, probably at Wembley.
And he's a good manager. Don't forget they had that big run in the league last season. I think they went unbeaten or something for 18, 19 games, and that was with lesser players. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think they've got a lot to look forward to. Ray Boreham's just given us some money. Just giving us $4.99. You're a gentleman, Ray. Thank you very much. We should work out a background that looks like one full screen. There we go. I want to move into the studio, the man cave, Ray. We'll change it all again, mate. But thank you very much. It's very generous of you, mate. A lot of people are mentioning Everton, Geo, in the chat.
They've done all right, actually. I think you cannot underestimate the loss of Idrissa Gana Gueye, though. That is a huge, huge loss for them. But they've made some clever signings. I'm not Robbie's biggest fan at all. Charlie will laugh in the live chat in a minute. I've just never been his biggest fan. But like I said the other night, I was reading an article which didn't change my opinion, but it's made me think, oh, okay then, let's see what he can do. However, Keane is a huge signing for them up front. Really impressive getting them in. Kurt Zuma will be a big loss though. Not getting another centre-back in for Everton will be huge. I know they were chasing Rojo for 25 million at one point. That was bonkers. I think I'd rather have no centre-back than Rojo. But so they're left with me.
Well, I think they wanted a loan. I think Everton wanted a loan. Man United wanted the permanent.
Mina and Keane isn't a bad centre back partnership. Dickney and they've got that right back on loan from Monaco, haven't they? Sidibe, he's a good right back as well. So they've improved Coleman, who I've always been a bit wary of last season. I didn't think he was great. I think he's sort of tailing off towards the end of his career. Yeah, good signings at Goodison Park. They'll do well.
Yeah, maybe just pot calling the kettle black here a bit, but they might have a leaky defence and be good in attack. Because Silva is a bit like that anyway. But I've got an Everton player in my fantasy league team, of course. Is it just one? I think so. Gone for a mixed bag. I don't know if I hope for it. I did put the code in here. I don't know how many of you are doing Fantasy Football League. Last season, I don't want to promise loads of Fantasy Football League videos and not deliver, but we're certainly all season long, myself and Geo will be doing Premier League chats because we quite enjoy talking about the Premier League. Something different to West Ham, which just probably incorporate the Fantasy League chatter as part of this. And Geo's got his new trick of bringing pictures up on screen, so he can keep us updated throughout the season.
I love talking about Premier League though. I watch about 6 games a weekend, I think. So I watch most of it. I don't miss.
Do you watch them live? Do you watch the full games?
Yeah. And then if there's like this weekend, I'll catch the Friday night game. I'll be travelling to London, Liverpool Norwich, but I'll be able to watch it on my phone. So I'll watch that on my phone. Then also there's the West Ham Man City game. That'll be it for Saturday. Then whoever's live on Sunday, Chelsea Man United, and there'll be another live game. So I'll get 4 games at least this weekend, plus any highlights and stuff. I love it. Love Premier League football.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking forward to the start because the game's on Friday. Liverpool playing Friday, right? Yeah. So I'll probably watch. Yeah, I'll watch that. I'm going away. Just got a wedding this weekend, alas. So I'll miss the Man City game. I'll miss all the football Saturday because the wedding's obviously. It's actually the wedding does start at 3 as well. So I've got no. I can't even, But it's fine, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's one of my best mates, and he's getting married. So and for the first time as well. So it's fine. I can miss the Man City thrashing, but yeah, probably going to go to Brighton again afterwards. Brighton's a funny one. And they've completely changed their ethos because they got rid of Houghton because I think they were sick of surviving. We've seen this before. We've seen it with Bolton. We've seen it with Charlton. We see clubs do this. They stay up. Stoke did it, of course. They stay up playing a certain style of football, 2 or 3 seasons, and then they think they've got to move up to the next level. Well, I don't think there is any next level for Brighton.
So what's the point of them then? Like they've got to achieve though. They have to be ambitious because what's the point of just settling for what you've got? You've got to take a leap of faith at some point. That'd be like people saying to you as a West Ham fan saying, hang on a minute, you're avoiding relegation, you're finishing mid-table, David Moyes. What's the problem here? You want more. Why should Brighton fans not want to play nice football? They might be happy finishing 16, but they just want to see a bit better football on display. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch Burnley every week. I'm pretty sure Burnley fans are happy to stay in the Premier League. But I'd imagine they'd want to have a little bit more flair involved when they're playing and stuff. Why shouldn't they aim for a bit more?
So Burnley's not one of your 6 games that you watch each week then? I get what you're saying. But what I think they equate it to is not just a change of style. What they tend not to do is give the money to the hoofball manager. They tend to keep their powder dry, and then what they do is they bring someone else in and give him a little bit of money to spend, which is what you see traditionally. It's not a style of football. I'm not arguing that they shouldn't want a better style of football, because I don't think it guarantees anything anyway. Swansea had that. Swansea had a very, very good philosophy, identity, if you want. Each manager played in a similar style, but eventually they weren't able to stay up because they just are not a big enough football club to sustain it. Bournemouth are obviously a small club, but Bournemouth spend money every single season. Eddie Howe is good. He's got a philosophy, but he's spending money. They do spend good money. They spend more money than a club that gets 16,000 fans through the gate would normally hope to get. And I just think it's the next level thing, not the better football. I don't think they're just changing it for better football. I think they're saying, if let's change the manager because Chris Hughton's taken as far as he can, let's get another manager and then we can start pushing up the top 10. And I just don't think these clubs can, basically.
I disagree. I think they've got to try it. They've got to take a leap of faith, because if you keep flirting with relegation, like while Chris Hughton kept brightening up, he spent a lot of money at that football club. He was not doing it on a shoestring budget. He spent big money. I think he bought in 2 strikers, Adone and that really long guy's name from Holland, Jakspanovic or something like Jakabash or whatever his name is. They were about 80 million apiece, and I think they scored about 2 goals. So, it's not good enough. I think Brighton are perfectly entitled to sack Chris Hughton and say, right, it's not good enough. We're scraping by, we're flirting with relegation, and you keep knocking on the door, the relegation door, someone's going to answer eventually and say, yeah, you come, mate, down into the bottom 3, thank you very much, close that door on you. And they've got to stop it. They have to get out the mentality of surviving is good. It is good, but their mentality is surviving is enough, and you cannot do that because eventually you will fail. Not every team hits their targets every season, and if every team's target is to stay up, 3 of them are not going to achieve their target. You could easily become one of them. All it would take is a serious injury to Lewis Dunk, Matt Ryan, Shane Duffy, Hogg. One of them gets a big injury for the season, they're in deep trouble. And I just think, something that the grass isn't always greener, but sometimes it's good to go and find out what shade of grass, what shade of green the grass is. That's what they're doing. Yeah. By the way, is the manager the right manager? I am not sure. I don't know enough about him. But
wasn't he the FA's director or something?
I
wasn't he worked for the FA?
I don't know enough about him. He was at Swansea for a little while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know enough about him to sit here and say good appointment, bad appointment. I don't know, but I think it's potentially the right thing to do is to twist. I think fair play to them. The only thing that won't be good is if he comes in and plays crap football and they get relegated anyway. That's where there's been an error, and the error isn't sacking Hughton. The error is appointing the wrong man.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting to see because they were tough. I was there last season at their place, and they were tough. Arnie hit the post quite late in the game, but they were dogged. They played, a bit David Moyes like if you want, and I did think we had more of the game, but apart from that hitting the post, without really looking like breaking them down. Murray scored from a very similar position that Arnautovic missed from, but they were tough. They were tough to break down. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see if they've lost that defensive solidity, that defensive backbone. Because I tell you what, if they have, then I do think we will exploit it because we've just got so many attacking players, and it's really, have they added enough attacking players to then trouble us at the back? But it's interesting because it is the clash of styles, because Burnley have played it safe with their manager, with what's his name, with Dyche, and they, it's interesting to see who finishes ahead. Having said that, I don't know if you know, but Burnley have signed Danny Drinkwater.
I didn't know that. No, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it's on loan or if it's permanent. We got a subscriber. Thank you. Bless you. Yeah, Danny Drinkwater from Chelsea. So why wouldn't they, Chelsea? I think he played 4 times last season, Danny Drinkwater for Chelsea. So, and they've got so many midfielders there. It'd be interesting to see what Frank Lampard does. That's why I didn't pick any. I was going to pick Ross Barkley for my fantasy league team, but yeah, I mean Chelsea's a funny one. Obviously, we were talking about transfers and all the rest of it. They've got an embargo. How do you think they're going to do?
Well, the thing is, they might not be able to buy anyone, but they've got some additions. They've got Abraham, Mason Mount, they've got fresh blood in there because they've been out on loan, getting experience and doing quite well. I think they'll do okay.
Pulisic as well is good.
I think they'll do okay. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll finish fifth or sixth, maybe probably fifth if I had to give an answer right now. I think they'll win some games, lose some games. I think Lampard will get off with it for a little while. He's wanted there, whereas Sarri was never really wanted, and there's a big difference. Lampard, a bit like Hodgson, has got excuses. Lampard was crap. He said, "Well, I couldn't buy anyone. What do you expect?" Can't really argue with him, can you? Every manager should be allowed to bring in his own players. Lampard can't. I guess the counter argument is to Lampard and Jody Morris is, well, the reason we appointed you is because you could work with the squad and the youngsters and stuff. So, you can't have it both ways. I think he'll do okay at Chelsea. But I'll tell you what, I just hope the media leave him alone, and that goes for every manager. The media are horrible. They're sharks. They're always bullying somebody, and it's usually a manager. They did it with Jose Mourinho. They just bullied him constantly, and I think Lampard's a nice guy. He's quite media friendly, a bit like Pep and Klopp. They get off with it a little bit, but I just hope that if things go bad for Chelsea, there isn't this witch hunt against Frank Lampard. And I'm not defending Frank Lampard as Frank Lampard. I'm defending Frank Lampard as a young manager in the Premier League for the first time. Let's give him time and give him a break to make it, because people complain that there's not enough young English managers coming through. Well, when they do come through, you can't hound them. You've got to stand back and let them live or die by their own sword. You don't need to stab it in their back.
No, absolutely. It's gonna be interesting to see how he does. I don't know. It's really hard what to make of him. You just don't know. You just don't know what team he's going to put out. It's impossible to say. But I don't know. It's hard. It's a bit of a love hate. I was never that angry with Lampard. I got to say, at West Ham, I was never that angry, because I do remember all the stick he got, and I do remember at the time thinking he was very good at West Ham. And everyone used to moan because he never used to get subbed and stuff like that. And everyone thought there was a lot of nepotism going on because of Harry and his dad was assistant manager. But I always wanted him to be on a pitch and stay on a pitch, because he always looked like he had goals with him. And then, of course, we basically sacked his uncle and his dad. That's what we did. So he was always going to leave at that point. So I wasn't. What it didn't help was afterwards, though, we did give him stick. We gave him a lot of stick, and we hadn't made it a nice place for him to be. He used to get booed and stuff even when he was playing at West Ham. And when he left, he couldn't help but remind us, because we had the West Stand built after he left, and he kept on saying, "Well, hold on, West Ham fans boo me, but I paid for their new stand and stuff like that." So maybe in hindsight, he perhaps should have kept his mouth shut a little bit, but he didn't overly endear himself to him. Man City, we're not going to discuss, obviously, because we've got a preview coming up at 8:30 on the main channel, when Charlie is going to jump out the chat and he's going to join us. Who else have we got that we're looking down the list? Leicester, thoughts on Leicester?
They did their business early, really, didn't they? Getting Perez in, and they signed up Tielemans for permanently, which is big business, I guess. Lost Harry Maguire. Did they get anyone in? Did they get a centre back? Did they get Dunk in the end? I don't think they did, because they went
no, they didn't.
They went after Dunk, got priced out of him. So they went after Tarkowski, whatever, Burnley, got priced out of him, and they went after Nathan Ake, got priced out of him. But they've got Johnny Evans there, but they've also got a couple of other centre backs.
They've got one that's got an Eastern European name, Benkovic or something like that. It was meant to be highly rated.
It starts like SYN or something. He was bought for this purpose almost. He was bought for their next centre back. They've just got to trust him, I guess. It's risky, but that's why you bought him. It's just like why West Ham have gone and bought this 18-year-old centre back. It's succession planning, if you like. And so yeah, someone in the live chat saying Soy Nuku or whatever and Benkovic need to step up. Well, one of them has to. That's why you buy them. You buy them for this. But come January, they're going to be flush with cash. So if they're struggling a little bit or a player pops up, Leicester will be able to sign them. Simple as that. I think they've done okay. I think okay business. I think they had an opportunity this summer to Leicester. I think they had an opportunity to spend big, a few decent players, and maybe push on, kick away from Watford and Southampton and Burnley really moved 10 points ahead of them in the table, and I don't think they've taken it. So I think they're going to need a really good season in order to finish in the top 8 or something. Whereas I think if they'd bought a couple of more players and spent a bit more money, I think the top 8 wouldn't be a given, but I think they would have been favourites for finishing in there.
This is someone's like Hammer 1999's asked in the chat, and I'm interested on your opinion here as well. About Tierney and Arsenal and how successful he'll be, because you've spoken to us before about the Scottish national team and Robertson and Tierney. You're almost your two best players both playing the same position, and they try and shoehorn him in. What sort of player is he?
He's good going forward. Funny enough, Charlie was asking me earlier because Charlie's North London, his friends are Arsenal. But the hard thing is because he plays for Celtic up here, he doesn't have to defend. They always have the ball. They're always attacking, so it's difficult to really gauge him. I don't watch Celtic in the Champions League. When there's Champions League football, and I don't really want to watch Celtic, I watch like an English team usually in the Champions League, or if there's a big clash of two European giants, I'll tune into that. But for Scotland, it's difficult because, like you just said, they used to shoehorn them in because there were two really good players. It's almost like they were picking the best 11 and thinking, oh, we'll squeeze them in somehow. And the problem is our best player is Andy Robertson, should be playing left back, but that would mean leaving out Tierney, and they didn't want to do that. So they actually played 3-5-2 and put Robertson left wing back and Tierney left centre back to try and get them both in. And Andy Robertson, as the captain, after the game, he said, "You've got two really good left backs here, and none of us are playing left back." But it was true. But that was Robertson's way of saying, "Let me play left back and get him out." I think he'll do well. I think 25 million. It's a bit pricey, but if West Ham signed him for 25 million, I'd be very happy, and I'd be confident that we've solved our left back position for about 10 years. But I think he's better than Kolasinac at defending, but I don't think he's better than Monreal at defending. But I think he's better attacking than Monreal. So I think they've got like a hybrid of Kolasinac and Monreal. A really good signing for Arsenal. I think he'll be a fan's favourite. I think they'll really like him.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just something, I don't know why we didn't speak about it at the start. You do know Andy Carroll's signed for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, why?
Well, because he's a Geordie.
Yeah, but what's the point? Like, apparently it's a low basic pay though, isn't it? Apparently it's like really heavily bonus incentives, so that apparently his basics low, and you'll get paid a lot when he plays. The thing is, he's loved up there. He's still loved up there, despite the Liverpool thing and the us stuff. You know, I seen that tweet. You know, I'm coming home, and all the Newcastle fans replying to it, like really supportive and that. I wish him the best of luck. I've always been a fan of Andy Carroll. He might look back and think he wished he did his career differently, didn't look after himself the best. I don't know. But
I think he'll always get a good reception at West Ham if he's ever fit enough to play and play against us. In fact, I don't want to see him play against us, quite frankly, because you know what'll happen, and I think I'll be slightly bitter if he did score against us. But I think he'll always get a good reception. I think he'll always be remembered fondly. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think Isabella Cadrian, when they come out to warm up or whatever at London Stadium before the game, I think the fans that are there will applaud him and he'll applaud back and stuff. But I think Danny Welbeck went to Watford, Andy Carroll's gone to Newcastle, and it's the same thing. Good when they're fit, but the problem is getting them fit and keeping them fit. And I'm actually glad they're not at West Ham anymore. So I'm not disappointed. I'm just relieved he's no longer at West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we certainly couldn't have offered him a deal. Pride of flip. How do you say that? Pride of. I'm not. Pride. I can't. Is it? I don't know. Anyway, he says, I'm not talking duds, but Gonzo looks sharp. Sorry, Geo looks sharp, and you look a little fuzzy, Gonzo.
You're a bit fuzzy, but you're the right size.
With it, look, we are going to go with that every day of the week. This is still a big, massive learning process for us, and it's Geo just in wonders. Yeah, you know, as long as I know, I've got a lot of everyone's saying, "Where's stretched Gonzo? Where's compressed Gonzo
Well,
and
I'll
all the
tell
rest
you
of
what,
it.
if I try and make you like sharp, you will become stretched Gonzo pretty quickly, I
Yeah.
think. So
Leave me fuzzy, mate. Can you do the trick for you got my fantasy football team?
yeah, I've got your fancy. Are you ready to go through your fantasy league team?
I think so, and then people can put some. If there's anyone we haven't discussed, I know we haven't discussed Southampton. I know Joan had a comment about Southampton, but
Okay, right.
you know,
We'll just touch on fantasy league now, and then we'll take some questions from the live chat. So here's Gonzo's fantasy league team. Gonzo, can you talk us through your team and your thinking, please?
yes, indeed. What's my team? I'm actually no. Okay, and I've got Allison in goal for obvious reasons. Liverpool. This is all about fantasy football, of course. So Liverpool have got Van Dijk, and I've got the best defence. They've also got Gomez back. I think Matip finished the season well. So what he wants clean sheets is 6 points for a clean sheet. And then I think you're going to have to look at the rules for yourself. But I think the moment goalkeepers make 5 saves or more, they get additional points. Allison, I would expect to keep the most clean sheets because I expect Liverpool to have the tightest defence again this season, which is why I've gone with Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I just expect them to get the clean sheets, and also I'm expecting them to get the assists as well. So that's just got to be done. The other one that obviously I've gone for is Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a good player, and whilst I do agree, some people were saying in the chat earlier that they think Solskjaer might get relegated, be the first person to get sacked. Not relegated. It was John Slater said put a pound on Man U to get relegated, but a lot of people were saying Solskjaer first person for the sack. And whilst I don't disagree with that necessarily, I do think with Wan-Bissaka and with Maguire, their defence is gonna be improved hugely. So I think he's a good one to put in there, and I do think he'll get forward a little bit as well. Sentimental, a little bit with Lanzini. I tend not to put West Ham players in there usually, but it gets to a point I can't help myself. Lanzini, if you've watched anything recently, you'll know that I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to be either our top scorer or amongst them if he stays fit. Richarlison Geo loves Richarlison. He's been speaking about him since he was at Watford. What I like about Richarlison is he's in as a midfielder. He's gonna be far more up front than he is in midfield. He's going to be far closer to the goal than a traditional midfielder. So he's gone in there for obvious reasons. Bernard is for Man City. I did have a Leroy Sané in there to start with, but he got injured, and people think that he might go to. Well, he can't go to. No, he can still go to Bayern Munich, can't he? Because the window remains open. But Bernard is a very, very good player.
His name's not even Bernard. It's Bernardo. There's an O
It's
in the end.
Bernard. It's Bernard.
Look, you can call the Everton midfielder Bernard. Okay, you can get away with that because there's no O. There's an O in the end of this guy's name.
Bernardo
Oh, for God's
is
sake.
is a good player. He's a fine player, Bernardo. He's going to do very, very well this season. I'm sure he's in lots of people's fantasy league team. Almiron, the same thing. Who's that? They signed a forward as well. What did they say? Signed a forward for 40 million? Newcastle? Joe Linton. It looks like I'm expecting Almiron to, again, be far more like Joe Linton's partner, or at worst, a number 10, than a midfielder. So I think he's good value. I think he's going to get lots of goals from there. And this whole Steve Bruce thing, I just don't think he's as bad as everyone makes out. I think Sam Maxine is going to provide lots of assists. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want Steve Bruce, but I don't think Newcastle are going to have the disastrous relegation season that so many people are predicting. So I think Almiron will do well. Aubameyang's in. Spent big on my striker. I think he was 11 million. Aubameyang's in. I think he'd probably be the top scorer. He was dangerous last season. He scored a lot of goals last season. Gio's just said about Tierney. He's going to be attacking more, even from fullback. They brought Pepe in. They're going to attack even more than they did last season. So I expect more goals from Aubameyang. Plus, I noticed Lacazette is starting the season injured. So it's going to be Aubameyang.
Aubameyang's been in good form pre-season as well, actually. He's been scoring pre-season.
There you go. Rashford is the only show in town up front. Martial, he tends to play a little bit off and left. So I think he's going to be the main striker all season, Marcus Rashford. Not going to put. What are they going to do with Sanchez? That's another question. Crikey, $500,000 a week. Second highest paid player in the world or something, I think. Anyway, Rashford's up there, and then Sebastian Allaire. I might not be able to say Bernardo, but I can say Sebastian Allaire. Why not? Why would I not have him in there? The rest of them, when you're sort of spending this money on Bernardo and Aubameyang and Robertson and Alexander Arnold, because they're expensive. Those guys, they are expensive. You've only got 100 million to spend. You've got to cut your cloth, and you have to have some cheaper players. So my cheaper players and the guys on the bench are Heaton, because obviously he's just signed and we know he's going to play. Wilshere, I think he's going to get some assists. I think we're going to score a lot of goals. I don't think it's a bad time to have West Ham players in. He wouldn't want West Ham midfielders under David Moyes, but under Pellegrini, he's good value. He's good value because he was injured all last season, so his value has not been inflated by him scoring goals and getting assists last season. So he was, and I know him. Not personally, obviously, but I know what he can deliver on the pitch. Max Aarons at right back. He's brilliant. He's really, really good. I'm pretty sure that was the guy that Palace would have gone and got had Norwich not been promoted, if you know what I mean. I think if Norwich had stayed down, I think Palace would have taken 50 million for Wan-Bissaka, gone to Norwich with 30 million and said, "Hey, I will have him, thank you very much." Attacking fullback, very, very good. Really like him. And the last one is another attacking fullback, Jetro Willems, who I thought was going to be someone that came over 2 or 3 seasons ago from PSV. Actually, he used to be the future. Read about him in 442 magazine 4 years ago as one of the most promising up and coming players. Didn't happen, but he's still a good quality player and someone. I think he was either 4 million or 4.5 million. I think that's all I had then, and he's gone in there. And as you can see, I'm playing 3 forwards and 3 defenders. So yeah, that's my thinking anyway.
Do you want to know my first draft?
Yeah.
I've got. I've not done my team yet, but my goalkeeper at the minute is just lined up as Norris.
Norris?
It's the Wolves keeper. Pick one of the cheapest keepers there is in the game.
Okay, fair enough.
I've gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. I've gone for Ryan Fredericks. I think he will concede a lot of goals, but I think he will get forward a lot, get some assists, maybe win some pens. I think he'll do all right. I've gone from Podol of Watford to save money, just another cash saver. I've got.
No, you've got some big midfielders and strikers. You've saved a lot of money already.
I've got Dickney of Everton, the best fullback in the league, I think, possibly. Takes direct free kicks, takes set pieces, crosses really good, and they've now got Keane in the box instead of Calvin Lewin, so I expect his assists to go up a little bit as well. My midfield, Lanzini, in form pre-season, can't leave him out. Raheem Sterling, the points getter of the league, you can't not have him. Gets goals. But Richarlison, as Gonzo mentioned, I think he's the best player outside the top 6. Get you goals. He's just an absolute superb player. Richarlison. He's sort of like their. Keane means he won't play up front. When Everton were linked with Zaha, I thought their solution was going to be put Richarlison up front and put Zaha out in the wing. But Richarlison's just some bloody player.
Yeah.
I've also gone with Perez of Leicester, but I'm going to change him, I think, because I think if Leicester spent 30 million on him, he's a big part of their plans, and he scored pre-season. So I thought, right, okay, he's off the mark already. I'm having a bit of this, but I'm going to change him to my dark horse of Fantasy League. If you are a Norwich City fan, this won't be dark horse to you, but their attacking midfielder, Buendia, I think he's a fantastic player. 22 years of age, is really good for assists and goals last year. I think if Norwich didn't come up, I think he would still be in the Premier League this season coming. Someone would have signed him. So he's quite cheap on the game as well. I think he's 6 million. So if you need a £6 million midfielder, go to Norwich City and get him. My strikers, I've got Keane and Allaire. There's goals in there. My bench, which, like I said, I haven't done my team. My bench is Alisson in goal. Bournemouth Simpson, because he's one of the cheapest defenders. Ward-Prowse takes set pieces. I think Southampton will do all right. I was impressed with Southampton under Hasenhüttl. He seems to know what he's doing with set pieces. He's made Ward-Prowse a big part of his team as well. He was playing centrally, taking the free kicks and corners and stuff. Ward-Prowse is there, and I've got Aubameyang as well. I needed to do a little bit of Claudio Ranieri, a little bit of tinkering, but I think half of that, I would say about 10 of those players will remain in the Geo Fantasy League team for next season. I'm pretty confident, actually. Pretty confident I've got some players.
Yeah, I always find I do fantasy league. There's a mad rush afterwards because some of the players that you think are going to feature, you have a look, you think, hold on, he's not even played him in the team, and I'm a bit guilty of playing my wild card quite early. I did see and we're asking for questions now in the chat, by the way. I did see in some of the questions that people had suggested my captains weren't right. I haven't done it yet. Those are auto captained or whatever. I will look at that just before, have a look at the fixtures. I've not even looked at the fixtures in depth, and then basically go from there. Just finally, your Southampton. You said about Ward-Prowse. You like Southampton then?
I think they'll do okay. I think they'll stay up, but I don't think they'll get into the top 10. They did do one good signing, but I can't remember who it was now. I remember seeing it. Oh, Che Adams is an okay signing, but there was someone else. I mean, they've sent a winger from Belgium, from Standard Liège, I think. I can't remember his name. I remember seeing him thinking, interesting shout. I think they'll be fine, Southampton. I think they'll do okay. Just okay. The transfer window's been okay. I'd be disappointed if I was a Southampton fan, perhaps, but I think they need a couple of seasons of stability. It's always felt like a ship on really rocky waters in the last couple of years at Southampton. So I think they could do with a boring season. And Alan Kirbish this season, that's what they need. And then they can look at buying in a couple of decent players and stuff.
John's trolling you in the chat. He's fallen out of love with Danny Ings.
I've fallen out of love with Danny. I'm still a Danny Ings fan. Good striker, but I was disappointed he was injured so much last season. Probably part of the reason I stopped doing my fantasy league. He wasn't scoring points. Thought, oh well, bugger it. Piss off, Danny. Piss off, fantasy league.
Absolutely. Right, we ready for questions? You got questions? You've been taking them down?
None yet. No one's asked us any questions. Well, Eric said, will Chelsea miss out in the top 6?
Someone has to step up, don't they? I do think I think no. I think they won't. But if it was ever going to happen, it's going to happen now. So I think the question really is, are Everton... Is Chelsea's loss of Hazard cancelled out? Have Everton made up enough ground with their purchases?
Why not West Ham?
So just think we'll ship a lot of goals. Yeah. I just think I can't. I would love it to be West Ham. I'd love to get to the end of the season and everyone say, Gonzo, you pessimist. You know, there we are in 6th or whatever. You said we'd ship lots of goals. We didn't. I'd love that. That was great. Absolutely great. But I just think we're going to. I love Pellegrini. I love his ethos. I love his strategy. But I do think he's so stubborn. He won't change. And I do think it's tactically not fantastic what he looks to do. So.
But we almost did it in 2015-16 while conceding a lot of goals. We almost did it.
Oh, I hope so. I'd love to think it. I do think though, with us, and I think probably with Everton as well. I don't know Everton. I've not been on Everton websites or anything like that. So I'll speak for West Ham. There's a feel-good factor about us at the moment. We've got a bounce. We've got a spring in our step. We're happy. The fans are happy. The board seem happy. They've opened the doors to the training ground, for instance, and they talk sport were in there today. So it's just a happier place to be. I do wonder if the whole uplift of a club and the mood of a club, and if there are others like that, if that's going to be a stark contrast to Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Is that a club introverted now? Is that a club questioning itself? Is that a club worrying that they've got no way of bringing any additional players in and ruin the loss of their top player? It's going to be interesting, but I do think they'll make top 6 if I'm just answering the question.
I think they might miss out, Selling David Luiz is a very stupid move by Chelsea, I think. He must be a big character in that dressing room. He must be. The experience he's got, he's been around for a while, over 2 spells, granted, but he must be a loss. I think they're taking a risk, actually. But we'll wait and see. You never know. Lampard might have a plan up his sleeve, and at the end of the day, they do have world class players at Chelsea. Conte is and the likes are still world class. Abraham and Mount are two of the upcoming hot prospects of England players and stuff. So the ingredients are there. The question is Lampard the chef, and does he have the recipe? That's the question. It's not about the players for me. It's about the leader. And Charlie's asking what your top 3 fruits are.
Sort of question. Cherries would be my favourite. My absolute favourite is cherries. Nectarines. And probably what I eat every day is a pink lady apple.
Yeah.
At least one pink lady apple a day. They're very juicy, firm and fruity. I like, yeah, that'd be it.
Pink lady apple's my number 1. Then raspberries. And then peaches. I like a peach.
Whoa. Bit yeah. See, I don't. You know when people scratch their fingers down a blackboard and all that,
Yeah.
and people don't like it, and they go like that. I never had that, but I can't. Even now, it makes me cringe. I don't like material. I don't like the. I can never. When people put their, when people put their jumper up or their t-shirt and they put it in their mouth, it makes me cringe. The feel of material on my tongue, I absolutely hate. Yeah, honestly, I hate even just you doing that there. I don't like it. I'm a bit weird, aren't I? But that's what a peach does that for me as well. So once you're in the peach, it's nice actually. That initial bite and your tongue touches the fur. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not right.
Oh dear. A couple of teams we haven't discussed. Aston Villa signed a lot of players and spent a lot of money. A lot of people are saying this season's Fulham. I disagree with that. I think at least 3 of their players they signed were there last season, so it's not quite the same because they're just keeping Mings. There's a defender or an attacker. No, there's a winger. He starts with H. Hout.
Yeah.
And the other one, El Ghazi. They were all there last season. They've just signed them all. Trezeguet is a fantastic player. I watched African Nations and he really stood out for me. I think it was African Nations. Or it was under 21 tour. No, I'm pretty sure it was African Nations. I'm getting muddled up with tournaments now. Trezeguet was fantastic. I think Wesley's a good signing for them. I think Tom Heaton's worth points. I think Tom Heaton's a really good signing for them as well. There's a few players they've signed. I don't know who they are. And it is a bit risky. But I think they'll be fine, Villa. I think they'll be alright. I think they'll stay up. I think they'll be comfortable enough. I think they'll be top of the 3 promoted teams. I think they're probably in a better position, bar experience, than Crystal Palace. I think they've got a better squad than Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think they'll stay up. But I think they may well lose their first 3 games. I think that may well be their problem, and that can give them a dent. I think they might win their 4th game, which ironically is against Crystal Palace. But it's hard for all those players to knit together. I understand what you're saying. A couple of them were already there. But they're not going to win away at Tottenham. They're just not. I think Bournemouth, I'm expecting a good season from Bournemouth. We've not even mentioned Bournemouth briefly when we spoke about them being, only having 16,000 fans. But he quietly goes about his business, Eddie Howe, and they are going to be another really good attacking force. I think what might be key, though, for actually Bournemouth, I don't know how injured Brooks and Fraser are. Possibly they're both injured.
They've got Harry Wilson, though. That's a big signing.
Yeah. So on Aston Villa, I do agree. But we know that because we lost. What did we do? Lost the first 4 last season, was it, or something like that?
We also brought in about 8 different players. But some people seem to think that Villa bringing in 10 players is a bad thing. We brought in loads last summer and we were perfectly fine. So it works for every Fulham. There's a West Ham. It works fine.
No, I agree. I think they will be perfectly fine, but I do think they're not going to have a stunning start to the Premier League season. I hope they do. Because I think they play on the. I could check. I think they play on the Sunday, possibly. If we find out that in their opening fixture Tottenham have lost, we'll laugh. I'll laugh. Everybody will laugh. Everyone in the chat will agree. So yeah.
Who else have we got to discuss? We'll do a couple of broad Premier League questions as well. I need to go in about 10 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. I've not had my dinner yet. Yes, I've got shepherd's pie
stuff before our preview. John Slater, I think it was John. I hope it was John. Yeah, John Slater. Who's going to be in the bottom 3? Sheffield United, we both say them.
Yes, Sheffield United.
Crystal
I
Palace.
don't. Oh,
I can't remember who else I said. Which,
Brighton.
is that who I said? Yes, it was. I've changed a little bit because they've signed Neil Mapai, and I thought they don't have a striker. They've got one now. You know, someone I'm going to stick with it. Palace, Brighton, and Sheffield United.
I will swap Palace out for Norwich.
I think they'll be okay. They'll score goals. I think
Mm.
usually the teams that don't score goals go down. I think if you concede a lot, you can still stay up. But if you can't score, you go down. That's the way I look of it. A dodgy defense is okay as long as you've got a good attack. But a good attack's, if you don't have a good attack, no matter how good your defense is, you're going to struggle. And I think Norwich has got that. Norwich cannot be underestimated. The reason they came up is because of their clever signings. This director of football, don't know his name, but he's certainly been attributed with a lot of success at Norwich City for the last year. Everyone seems to be saying him. It's him. He's the one. He brought in players. Pookie was free, top goal scorer in the Championship, and funnily enough, it was Karen Brady. As soon as they got promoted, there was an article on Karen Brady said, "Oh, you better get ready to spend big. You just spend lots of money, or you're going to get relegated." He basically came out, or I think it was a chairman in Norwich, said, Karen Brady obviously knows nothing about Norwich City, because if she did, she would know we spent no money to get to the Premier League. And we're going to continue to do the business the way we want to, the way that we know, and we're going to show her that she's wrong. And I just read it thinking, Karen, just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're clearly just writing an article for the sake of writing an article, and you decided to sit in order and say, "Oh, you better spend big. If you're in the big boys, you've got to spend big." Well, actually, if you've got a guy that knows what he's doing, that's doing the transfers, you don't need to spend big. West Ham haven't spent big this summer, I don't think. A net spend of about £35 million, nothing in this day and age in the Premier League. But we've improved the starting 11 and we've improved the squad. That's a success. I think Norwich have brought in Patrick Roberts on loan from Man City, big signing. They've also signed Jumaric, I think he's the Croatian striker from Bundesliga for free. Funny enough, in pre-season they've been playing him attacking midfielder, and in one of the pre-season games he scored a hat-trick. So again, free. Who signed? It was Villa. Yeah, it was Villa. Villa signed Douglas Rui from Man City. 16 million, big signing.
I don't know him.
Yeah, he's a centre midfielder from Man City. Pep really likes him. That's why I'm surprised they let him go. Captain's Brazil under 23s. And Villa have got him for 16 million. It was Villa he went to. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Him.
It's really good. I think the Premier League's going to be really good this season.
I can't wait. I bloody love it.
Yeah, we did. I think you're finally seeing the money take its toll. It's now, I think, 3 seasons of, aside from the massive clubs, who I'm not going to repeat because you'll know who they are, aside from those 5 or 6 massive clubs, the Premier League have now got more money than anybody else, and we've now had more money than anyone else for 2 or 3 seasons. I think you're really starting to see everybody. You just said then Norwich City net spend 35 million. I think you said.
No, we
not
West
much.
Ham spent that.
Oh, West Ham. It's not. No, you're right. Premier League standards, not a lot of money, but if you even look when Valencia, who are a big team, not a super club that I mentioned, but a big team, but you look at how they had to search behind the back of the sofa for the loose change and throw a few players in. To throw some players in, exactly, just to sign the player Maxi Gomez they wanted, because actually they couldn't afford exactly that sort of amount of money.
It's like Obiang, isn't it? Sassuolo's not like a massive club in Italy, but they had to scrape the money together to get 8 million for Obiang. Augsburg had to scrape together 2 million to get Reece Oxford. These are like, it doesn't matter how bad you are, you go to our bad teams in the Premier League and they're Sheffield United have just spent £70 million on Ollie McBurney. It's just crazy.
Is that Kevin De Bruyne's Scottish cousin?
It's not, but if he had the talent of Kevin De Bruyne's big toe would be all right. Unfortunately, he doesn't. But Ollie McBurnie is good in the air. Honestly, I'm telling you, he's like the Scottish Peter Crouch. That is Ollie McBurnie. He is. He's the Scottish Peter Crouch. Just get it in the air and he'll win it. But apart from that, he's next to useless. Very overpriced. But Sheffield United have been quiet for business, in my opinion. I think Watford have been surprisingly quiet. They signed Sarr, but nothing.
And they made a deadline day. Prayet.
Did they sign him?
Yes, for their record signing. Do you know who that is?
I've heard of the name. That's it.
People liked him on the radio. As I said, I went to Tesco before. People were going, very, very happy about this guy. There was people phoning in saying this is a really good player. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you what what the price was. But yeah, Prayet.
Okay.
Praet, I think, something like that. Possibly, might be wrong, but yeah.
That's not too bad.
They've certainly smashed their.
I was thinking they're, bad season, and they're not too far away from the relegation places. They did well to hold on to Decore because Everton went after Decore. They did well to hold on to him, but I've been disappointed by their summer transfers. I think very vanilla a little bit. And people in the live chat say Prayet's going to Leicester.
Oh, sorry, I was wrong then. I was wrong. Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't know why I got it.
Watford have signed Danny Welbeck and Sarr.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. There you go. That shows how much I know.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Danny Welbeck. There you go.
It's very average.
Good.
I think Watford have sort of undershot a little bit this window. I'm not impressed by Watford's spending. I think I would discuss everyone else in the Premier League. Newcastle have touched upon Southampton, Burnley. Burnley have been. I know you said they got Drinkwater, but they signed Jay Rodriguez. That's about it. Not really done any other business.
No, yeah, as you said, I think that's pretty much. I don't think there's any dark horses that have escaped our attention. Certainly. So let's have a quick look before we buzz off. Make sure we've got everyone. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Brighton, Burnley. We have discussed as well. Chelsea, Palace, Everton, Leicester, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Norwich, Sheffield United, Southampton, Tottenham, Watford, West Ham, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
They're winning. They're winning tonight. They're playing in Europa League tonight, and they're winning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the qualifiers for Europa League, isn't it? So they're going for it. I think they've signed a lot of. I don't think they'll do well this season. Okay, I'm going to say it. I think they'll finish in the bottom half this season, and it's not because they're signing. You can't judge their signings, though, can you? Because there are all these Portuguese players that you've never heard of. So you go, who? But then you think of Mendes and the success they've had so far. You can't really knock them too much. But I do know that they signed those two players. They did a double signing, and they were like Mendes' players. And apparently he was trying to get Benfica to get them for like 30 million. And Benfica were telling Mendes where to go, basically. Saying, nah, we don't want those players. I think they're young. They're like 18, 19, 20 or something. They were at Lazio last season, both of them. I think they've only got a handful of appearances between them last season, and they're at Wolves this season. So it'll be interesting to see if Mendes has pulled out the hat once again, or he's sort of come stuck a little bit. Because there's only so many good young Portuguese players or whatever he's going to be able to get to Wolves. There's only so many of them. And
yes, there are. Yeah.
there is, so he's going to run out at some point. Because football agents tend to have a lifespan, don't they? There will be a super agent. Same with directors of football. It's very rare someone's at the top of the tree for more than, say, 5 years, for example. Someone will usually get 2 or 3 players at the right time. They'll be the big agent. They'll cash in on it. But that's all they've got, 2 or 3 big players. It's very rare. Directors of football. Go to Leicester City. Walsh brought in Conte and Mahrez, did fantastic. Went up to Everton and absolutely ballsed it up, getting in, sent it to Tosun and all that. You have like a lifespan sometimes. It's just the way it is. Same with managers, footballers, player, everything. Everything in football has a lifespan. Mendes' lifespan will expire one day. maybe not this season, maybe not next season, but at some point, I think his players will dry up a bit. I think Wolves will finish bottom half of the table. I think it'll be West Ham, Leicester, Everton, and Bournemouth. They're in the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll disagree with that, and I do think Europe will hurt them. I think it'll actually have a little uplift at the start. I think they start at the very start of the season while people are getting their fitness together. Maybe it helps them, but I do think the Thursday, Sunday will start to have a detrimental impact on that. Certainly, mate.
Anyway, anything else you'd like to add, or we'll start wrapping this up?
No, mate. I've got a shepherd's pie to eat, and then we're back at 8:30 on the main channel. Just several times in the chat, I posted the code for the Fantasy Premier League.
Post it in the comments.
I'll post it in the comments underneath.
Pin it to the top of the page as well. So the very first comment under this video will have the code for the Fantasy League. So do come along and join. And as Gonzo said, we'll be doing Premier League predictions every week. We're not doing it this week because there's so much videos and Premier League starts tomorrow night. And there's also nothing to go on. There's no form. Well, you can't base your prediction on anything except a punt. So we'll start it again next week or the week after. We'll start doing prediction. We'll touch on Fantasy League as well. Try and keep you in the loop as to who's doing well in the league. Over 800 people join in. Be nice to get to the 1,000 if possible, and see how many of you can beat Gonzo, or should I say how many people Gonzo can beat, because it's not going to be many.
Oh, man, plenty. I think I'll be top. Week 1, I'm going to be pretty much near the top.
You did that, but last season you did that bad. On your third week, you had to use your wild card and change your whole team.
Well, this has got to be done. This because
out the whole Fantasy League last season, about 99% of teams had Wan-Bissaka, and you were in the 1%. You were at the very first game. You were saying, "Who's Wan-Bissaka? Why has everyone else got Wan-Bissaka?"
Hold on. Before anyone had even knew about the fella, I was telling Pereira. Pereira's the guy. He's the right back because I wanted us to sign him. I put him in. He was ahead of Wan-Bissaka in the points. So don't give me all that.
I remember the show watching you confused as to why everyone had Wan-Bissaka.
I was right to be confused because I actually picked the best right back. The best right back I had in my team.
You panicked and used your wild card on match day 3.
I may well have done, but I had Pereira in there. When you watch that, you can go back. You see the first show.
I believe you.
I
know that you had Pereira, but it just amused me that you caved so early.
Don't worry about me. You worry about yourself. Because from what I've seen and from what I've heard, I don't blame you for not flashing your team up on the screen because it sounded embarrassing, quite frankly.
I literally read it out.
Yeah, but it didn't sound good. It didn't sound pretty. I've got to say, you've got a lot of work to do. But the other half, that wasn't the same as mine, sounded dodgy, quite frankly.
I think it's better than Jack Wilshere. He's not going to get much points in Fantasy League.
We'll see.
Price will get more than Jack Wilshere. Do you want to have a bet?
Well, no, you're comparable. Have you got a player for 4.5 million that will get more points than Jack Wilshere? What?
I bet you James Ward-Prowse.
You don't have to bet, because
I want to bet.
You don't even have to. You don't have to bet. It's just your team either finishes ahead of mine. There's no point betting on one player. If you're going to bet, the whole team, my friend, the whole team. Does your fantasy league team finish ahead of mine? I don't know. Not money because I'm skint, but some forfeit or something. I'm sure we could make it fun. We don't even have to do it now. People in the comments underneath.
T-shirt.
Okay, fine. Well, what are you going to do?
What do you want me to do?
I don't know. People can leave it in the comments. Nothing ridiculous. No nakedness. You lot a bit weird. I'll tell you what, every time we do this, people are suggesting nakedness. You should have seen what Neville Bartos put in the comments on a cup of tea last night. What would I suggesting I would do something very, very naughty. If we could finish 4th, Gonzo, if I say finish 4th, would you do this? I'm not going to say. It's in the comments yesterday. You have to go back and look. Very naughty. So nothing naughty. But what should Geo do when his team loses to my team at fantasy football?
Anyway, join in the Fantasy League as well. Gonzo, would you like to say goodbye? It's good. We'll catch you in a bit. Thank you for watching this edition of, I don't know, we don't really have a name for it, but we're talking about Premier League football, Fantasy League football, and we'll be back very, very soon. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Until later, we'll see you soon.